Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's April 23rd. This will be our chart listing for the day. And we spent most of the day in a range. We actually broke out of that right around just prior to the 1 o'clock hour, actually, and went a little bit lower, but quickly we rebounded, and now we're trading back inside that range again. Of course, this is in the after hours session. This is basically tomorrow's price action right here now. But you can see we traded within the overnight highs and lows for, you know, 75-80% of the day, probably 90% of the trading day. But let me back out a little more here. We'll talk about the trades. And pretty good trading day, very straight, pretty much straightforward. So when I came in, we'd been trending up, and we were just kind of going sideways here. And notice you got that new high, and then you're kind of going sideways, and you get a failed second entry long, and you're a good bit away from the EMA. There's a little bit of congestion here, but being that far away from the EMA, you figure to pull back. This is real close to being green, but you could argue for it. So it runs down. We don't quite have a new high yet. It is congestion, but being that far away from the EMA, if we do push on down, and what I really like about this was it went out the high side and turned, and then went out the low side, heading back towards the EMA. So you got some good proof that you probably trapped some people there on that one. Then you get a little failed second entry long here, but it just bounces basically right at the EMA, and this ends up as a doji. It's a failed second entry long, but you don't have a whole lot of room there, and you're really kind of looking for a retest of this high, but they probably have trapped some longs here, so you may want to take that one. I left it green because it's not a perfect reversal pattern. And this is basically a double top up here. So you might wait for the next failure if you get another one and then go short. And of course, now it pushes through the EMA, pulls back and fails, give you a nice bearish bar. That's where you go short. And this is a no-brainer. It just takes off, and you can get a runner the whole 9 yards right there. So this was the better trade than really either one of these. This is the safer trade, but you don't know that you're going to get this set up ahead of time. So you might take this one just because it's a long way away from the EMA, and it's been a long way for over an hour, really. And this one's just a little bit risky, especially with it being a very neutral bar there. It's kind of a breakout. This is congestion, so it breaks out and pulls back. So there are some reasons to consider it. This pattern's been good to us, although this is not the perfect setup. You want it to kind of go through the EMA first and then come back and test it. But this also confirms the trend line right here. That's another reason I like that one. And that's your true reversal pattern. But then we come down, we hit towards the bottom, we bounce. That's a pretty strong bounce. But there's a nice little trend line coming down. We do have an overshoot here, so you may not come back and test those lows. So you got to kind of watch this one. And look what happens. You actually get a second entry long here, but that bar is way too bearish, way too big. So just let that one go. And this turns out to be a failure, and you get a little failed second entry long, a double test of this level right here. Notice that little double top. It's a lower double top than this high. And so you're probably going to trap some people right there. So I like going short on that one. And you're assuming you're probably trying to make a retest of this low. Even though we got a little overshoot there, we're probably trying to retest that. And then we come back up, and then you fail higher here, and and look how it goes right on back through the EMA, comes back, tests that high again. It actually breaks higher and turns and goes down. I like that one just to ride it, if nothing else to here. But you're probably trying to make a new low, and sure enough, it goes down. It makes a new low by one tick and bounces. And then watch what happens. You get that first move back up, then you get a first entry short, your second move up, you get a second entry short, it fails. Again, it's not through the EMA, but this line should be right there. I don't know how it got moved down. That's where you get most of your touches and your closes, so that's why I like it right there. I don't know how it got moved down, if I moved it or just put it in the wrong place. But anyway, and then it bounces off that. It acts as support again on a failed second entry short. This is really, really close to being able to call this blue, because this is looking like a range day. I mean, I want to call it blue. It's just so close. Um, it's not a perfect signal bar, but then again, it's a failed second entry short, so it doesn't really matter. I just didn't, the thing wasn't crazy about is it wasn't back through the EMA. But this is you can see we got a little trading range going here, and we failed out the top, we failed out the bottom, and now we got support back on side. So we're probably going back to the top here, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one to blue, and then this could easily be there, but I was just kind of marking these lows here, and we're just kind of going sideways again. And now you'd probably want to move this up to here. Really, you get more closes right across here, so I'd probably move it to here, because that's where you get the most closes and touches right there. You can see that kind of fits pretty well across there. It still gives you this failed break here, but now you're just kind of bouncing around in a little trading range. And you probably would tighten that one up to right there. I really had it here earlier, and when you get that close, you tighten it up there. And so even though you do get a double test of this level here, but it's right into this resistance. And, we've been in this range for a couple of hours now, so it's risky going long there. Even though it works, and this turns out to be a great move, if you didn't catch that, don't beat yourself up, because you probably did the right thing by skipping that trade. If your bars looked a little different and you could somehow justify getting your highs up here or maybe right here and you got enough room, then you might enter that. But on my chart, you can see all your closes and most of your touches are right here, and there's just not enough room. I can't justify going long there, because 9 times out of 10 it'll do just this. It'll break out of there and then turn down, and it may only go a tick, or it may just turn down right there off that resistance. And so it's not worth risking, especially not if you're already in down here where you should have got in. This is probably a lot better setup than this. There's no probably to it. This is definitely a lot better setup down here. This is where you want to enter a range, is at the lows, or you buy the lows or sell the highs. So if anything, you're actually more apt to be looking for a short up here, but it just takes off. And look how long we've been away from the EMA again there. And you move down, you pull back, you get a first entry short, you pull back again, and you get that failed second entry short, and you're still a long way away from the EMA, so just take that one. You got plenty of room to get out. It actually comes back to the EMA again here, but that's too bullish, and then you got matching lows, even though it works. But then it comes back again. But notice we made a little higher high there, so there's a new high. That's basically a double top. You pull your line down to right there. That's where you get the most touches. Now you got a double top, so then pull back. First entry, you head down again. Second entry, turns down right off that trend line. It's a failed second entry long, goes short right there. It gives you another chance to enter here, but that's too neutral, and this is just not a perfect bar either. So I wouldn't enter again. I'd wait, but when it turns up again, right, and everything's still closing, and it actually went higher here, and then turned down, and actually, I believe that one did. Actually, let me back up and say I can't remember if this was the other one that went higher first and then turned down. I think it did, because I think it kept finding resistance or support right there, and then it went up and it went higher, and then it turns back down. But you'd probably have to do replay if you can't remember yourself. But I believe it went higher there, and then it turned. Either way, you still got room to get out before you get to these lows, and it's probably headed back down to the other side, and it's right off that key entry point as well, and it's that reversal pattern. Everything's under the EMA. You want to go short right there. So off it goes, and this thing just keeps going on down. There's actually a short-term trend line you see I drew right down through there, and it's still working off that. At this point, this looked like the channel here, so I wouldn't be taking any shorts down here. And I wouldn't be looking for any longs either, but I wouldn't be going short. And notice how it looks like it makes a little wedge. Well, really, all that is, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a wedge. Really, in my opinion, what's going on there is prices are being squeezed between this short-term trend line and the lower side of the channel, which turns out to be a midline. And so that's why it looks like a wedge there. That's what creates those, in my opinion. Um, and of course, we actually shoot over and we bounce and we're going sideways. And we got another little trading range here. You get a little failed break here, but you can't go long right into that. Plus, you got this trend line working down. And then it kind of bounces up here and breaks out. And guess what? It gives you that failed breakout, a big bearish bar, first break of that trend line. So we're probably going to at least go down and test this low down here and try to make a new low here because that's a fairly strong trend down. But guess what? You get a little bonus on this one. If you enter here, you can ride this all the way down. The runner's going to go all the way, and it just kind of keeps going. And then notice what happens. You're moving down, you get that first break, and that's your first entry, and then you go a little bit lower, and it bounces right off that lower trend channel line, and you get a second entry long, and it actually goes high. I know this one went higher first and then turned back down. That's another great place to go short. And it doesn't go very far, but it gives you plenty to get your scalp. Then it comes back. And I just didn't see, again, this is another failed breakout here because by that time you would have this line going long. But we've just came off, the problem with going short here is we just came off the lows. We've touched this lower side a couple times and we made a double bottom. And even though you may come back down here, there's a chance it could bounce off those highs and go higher because we should be going higher, even though it keeps going lower. There's just not a very good setup right there. And actually, you had this bearish bar first, and it actually broke lower there. And so if you had gone short there, you would have got burned. And then it turns out that it's just a short trap, or at least it makes people think it's a short trap, and it turns out to be a long trap. And that's why you don't try to counter trend. I mean, this is a fairly strong, large two-tiered channel. Don't be trying to go long anywhere in there, especially since it was strong enough to get through what has been support all day long. That's not a good sign. So don't be trying to pick any bottoms down here. Wait for that reversal pattern. And you can see there's a couple of them that you could have probably taken and worked, but you know, the odds of, if you tried here, you got burned. If you tried here, you got burned. You got burned here. You would have got burned here. And then finally, you would have got one that worked down here, but it's not worth risking all that. Not on a strong trend. You just sit tight and you'll get a better entry. And you just really never got anything else. We got into the 2 o'clock hour and there was nothing else after that. So, but not a bad day. It was fairly straightforward, nothing too out of the ordinary. Follow the rules and you're going to be fine. And speaking of following the rules, somebody sent me an email here. I'm going to open it and read it. Here it is right here. Gentleman, he actually sent me this Friday and I didn't see it. I didn't get it since we don't do a chart lesson on Fridays. I didn't get a chance to read it to you today, but it says, "Hello, Mac. Today I took 11 trades with 11 wins in a row. Everything by your rules. Yesterday was very similar. In the last few days, I hardly have any losing trades. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure if the market has changed or before I was just blind. Have a nice weekend." He puts his name. So that's pretty good story. I love to hear those kind of stories because once the light goes off, the light goes off. And people will think the light goes off many times before they actually do go off. But once they really do, you know it. And I mean, you know, you could say maybe he's getting lucky, but 2 days in a row with 10 or 11 wins in a row, he's doing something besides luck there. He's doing something right. So, and the good thing is you can see that he's not letting it go to his head because he's not really sure if he's more or less pinching himself. He's not sure if the market's changed and gotten easier or if he just didn't get it before. And most likely he just didn't get it before because the market has not changed. The ES, I've been doing this for, I've been trading this thing daily for 10 plus years, and it's the same. Of course, the volatility gets higher and lower and higher and lower and that kind of stuff. And but the market itself, the tendencies, they never change. They've been doing the same exact things. I've seen everything we've seen over the last 6 months. I've seen the same things over the last 10 years plus. So this market does not change. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. Congratulations to that trader. I'm glad he's having success. Just keep working at it. You'll only get better. And but we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.